Hello there YouTube and welcome back to another cracking gaming spotlight. I'm Hugh Langley and I'm here with Patrick Goss today, and we're talking about, well, the big one for me, it's Nintendo. Nintendoomed, or is it just Nintendormant?
I can see how angry this is making you already by your tapping.
Yeah, a little
barely
bit,
concealed rage.
Bit.
So no, you are a well-known Nintendo fanboy. I think it's fair to say. Yeah. With your roots in Pokemon, and
yes,
I think you look a little bit like a Pokemon character.
So everything. I'll ignore that comment. But no, I mean I have been a hardcore fan. You know, since I got the first, well, the Game Boy and the SNES. I've been a big fan of Nintendo, and a lot of its first-party titles. But obviously, the thing now is with this generation, we're seeing with the Wii U not doing very well at all. The question is, where does Nintendo go now? Or maybe the first question is, what did Nintendo do wrong here? What was their big mistake with the Wii U?
I think in some ways what they did wrong was they were immensely successful, which is a bit of a weird thing to say.
With the Wii?
But yeah, the Wii wasn't a games console, and I think that's probably over pushing the point a little bit. But it wasn't a traditional games console, and I don't think those people that were the massive Nintendo fanboys loved the Wii as well, but for maybe for a different reason. The Wii really, and the Wii success, and the new niche that it mined was these families that didn't necessarily have any commitment to gaming, that didn't have any real heritage in it. They got it out for parties, they had a great time, but it doesn't give them enough it doesn't give that audience enough to invest in a new console. What's the new party game they can bring it out for? Well, there isn't really one. It's the same as the old Wii, but with a controller that really isn't going to work for that audience. And for the hardcore gamers, it brings some stuff, but it doesn't really go for, it doesn't say Nintendo is the third great console, does it? It doesn't shout that, which is what it needed to do. I mean, it's the first of this generation. But in some ways, it feels very old gen.
Well, it does, and the problem is that getting that kind of lead time over the PS4 and Xbox One, you'd think Nintendo would use that to their advantage and push more software, but it launched with barely any games. We had all these promises of games like Pikmin 3 and all these great-looking titles, which, like Pikmin 3 was a great game, but it didn't come out till ages after the release of the console. Honestly, I'm at the point now where I feel like the Wii U is perhaps unsalvageable. I think, Super Smash Bros. Is going to be great, Mario Kart 8 is going to be great, because they're always great. Nintendo has some brilliant developers in-house, but I just don't think if you've got, the Mario platformer can't save it, and that was a 10 out of 10 game, it really was. I think it was fantastic. If that can't save it, then what can? So, do we have to start talking about new hardware? I know you don't agree with me on this, but I honestly think Nintendo's best move now is to actually plough ahead with the next console and maybe announce it towards the end of next year, release it in 2016.
I don't disagree with you that that's a potential avenue for them. I disagree that it's ever going to happen. I think it would be too much to push a console out in the next couple of years. I think it's more likely we will see some kind of movement on handheld, because that's always been a strong place for, and still, a massively strong place, and PS Vita's kind of underlined that in that no one else seems to do handhelds well. Or certainly well enough to lure that Nintendo audience away. But even there, they've got phones and tablets competing with them in a way that they weren't when the DS came out and the 3DS. But I think that's going to be the sensible choice for them, is to go back to their handheld brilliance and focus.
I think a lot of people are saying Nintendo should go onto mobile, put their games onto mobile, and actually this is the point I generally disagree with the majority on this, which is I think with the 3DS doing so well, it was the best-selling gaming device of 2013. That's big. My thoughts now are that Nintendo's far from dead. It's got a lot of money. It's got like $7 billion it's just sitting on, and I feel like the Wii U is dead at this point, or it's nearly there. I don't want to say it's dead. I don't want to say it's dead, but I feel like we're getting to that point. I feel like if Nintendo claws onto that, it's going to be worse for them in the long run than if they just cut now and say, okay, maybe give it 2 years. We won't screw over everyone. Well, people are going to get screwed over, the people who bought the Wii U, but less so if they release a new console in a couple of years. But if they did put out something that was more powerful than the Xbox One and PS4, but priced at the same, they're an established name, they're big enough to do it, I think they could actually, that could be, the whole thing could be almost a blessing in disguise. They could actually have the best console on the market.
That's not Nintendo's model.
No, but they need to change the model. This is the thing. And like you said, that they traditionally had, power's not been the thing for them. It's, the Wii was far less powered than the Xbox 360 and PS3. But maybe they can change that now. Maybe this will actually turn things around for them.
Yeah, I think they probably face as big a problem as the current gen, though, in some ways, in that I would posit that the next generation of gaming isn't going to be about graphical prowess and processing power unless it's attached to something significant, like a virtual reality headset, that old chestnut, or some kind of something that's transcendental. Because I think at the moment, you know, photorealism doesn't seem really to be getting much closer, even with the increased res. I think it's the worlds that are going to be the worlds that we inhabit that's going to be the future. And I'd say they probably they don't want to go too early on that, and unless they have, you know, unless they've got some kind of secret virtual reality headset in the works, and this is Nintendo, you'd never write it off. And if they did come out and say,
bring out the Virtual Boy,
a Mario, it would be.
They were the first to do it. You know, why not now? Maybe they just. Honestly, I think if they did a massive multiplayer online Pokemon, that would solve all their problems. They never will. People have been asking for it for years, but Nintendo, if you're listening, just a bit of advice, that is actually what you need to do. I think I'd buy whatever Nintendo put out.
Well, you'd also feature in it as well, so.
Yeah, sure, why not? But virtual reality headset, maybe not that, but something, I don't know, like if they put out a really powerful console without it, would that be such a bad thing, you know? I think the PS4 and Xbox One have shown us that people still want high-power consoles in their living
I think if they put out a more powerful console next year, unless they had the most amazing killer title to launch it with.
Massive multiplayer online Pokemon.
That isn't Pokemon, it would flop. And I think that that's a real problem for them. And I don't think that's because people don't love Nintendo. They absolutely do. I don't think it's Nintendo are incapable of doing it. Of course they are. I just think that that's not the direction that gaming is going in. And I think, you know, the PS4 and Xbox battle, I think probably has highlighted some stuff for people, which is, it just doesn't feel that thrilling. They're not doing anything that is changing gaming, and every generation should feel like it's changing gaming for the better. And I feel like this generation of consoles is treading water in a way that the past ones simply haven't.
You know what really annoys me at the moment? Download content. DLC. I remember a time when DLC came in the form of an innocent expansion pack, something, you know, you'd put on The Sims like Hot Day or House Party, something like that. But no, now it feels like developers are just chopping these games up, setting up kind of a mini kind of core experience, and then everything else padded around I have to pay extra for. Microtransactions, season passes. It's like I'm just paying for the entrance fee to get into the theme park, but I have to pay extra to go on the log flume, don't I? I don't even feel like I'm buying the actual game. I'm so sick of hearing about the DLC before the game's even out. The whole thing with Warner Brothers and Arkham Origins saying, you know what, we're not actually going to finish fixing the bugs in the game. We're just going to make more DLC so you can pay for that instead. But the core experience is still broken. It's especially annoying when they put it on the disc but lock the DLC in, so I have to pay extra to access it. What the f is that about? Shameless money grabbing. Oh, f that game entirely.
I mean, you've already brought up your Pokemon MMO, which frankly sounds horrifying to me, but hey, we live and learn. But what other games do you think particularly could be, I mean, they do some of the best games that have ever existed and some of the biggest iconic characters in gaming, including, of course, Mario, who is probably the most overused character in gaming. But what games do you think could be the ones that...
I think the Zelda Wii U is going to be a big one for them. I mean, we know it's coming, and it looked very nice the last time we saw it, and, you know, I mean, it's got such a massive following, that series. And I think the next sort of big, proper, full Zelda game will be a big one for me, definitely. I mean, this year we've already got as well, I mean, we've got Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart's always great. I mean, you know, whatever gimmicks they throw into it, like anti-gravity racing and like things like that, I don't care. It's going to be a fun game, you know. I'm going to enjoy playing it with my friends. And of course Super Smash Bros. So you've got the two kind of big multiplayer games, and Nintendo have always done multiplayer so well. So I think, I'm not saying they're going to save it, but I think they're two, you know, very promising titles. Yeah. Whilst if you look at Mario, which again, like I said, was a brilliant platformer, but it was, you know, very much a kind of single player experience, really. I mean, for me personally, I would love to see another Metroid Prime. I think Metroid Prime on the GameCube is one of the best first-person shooters of all time. It was brilliant, and I could also go on a separate rant about Halo took all its ideas from Metroid, but I'm not going to. But yes, I generally think Metroid Prime, I mean, the trilogy was great itself, but the first game was so good. I would, you know, I mean, I have a Wii U, but if I didn't, I would buy a Wii U just to play that. Are there any Any titles you'd like to see?
For me, games can be a little bit soulless at the moment. They feel a little bit like we're like I've said, consoles may be treading water a little bit, but I think some of the games are as well. It's a new Call of Duty. It's a shooter. It's going to be a bit like Call of Duty. It's. I think we've lost a little bit of that joy in games. The fun, the kind of the spirit in there. I remember like, some of my favourite games. It was about the joy around them, and you know. I think we kind of missed that at the moment, and that's what Nintendo should be bringing. It should be the fun games console. I think. Yeah. You know, hardcore, gritty gaming, Call of Duty. Yeah. You know, PS4 and Xbox One can have that. Yeah. But Nintendo have so many other strengths.
2K Games and Gearbox have announced Borderlands, the pre-sequel. Is it a full game or is it just glorified DLC? Who cares? It's set on the moon. Taking place between Borderlands and Borderlands 2 and focusing on the rise of Handsome Jack, it's the first to take players away from Pandora. But all you next-geners will be missing out as Borderlands the pre-sequel is only coming to PS3, Xbox 360 and PC. Try to act somewhat surprised by this one, but Sony has confirmed The Last of Us Remastered is coming to PS4, and it's coming this summer. Same game, but you'll get all the previous DLC, plus it will run at 1080p, and Naughty Dog says it's also targeting 60 frames per second. And finally, yes, it's the big Super Smash Bros. News of the week. Nintendo says we'll get our mitts on the 3DS version this summer, while the Wii U version will be closer to the end of the year. And as of this week, we know the game will also star Yoshi, Sheik, Zero Suit Samus, Charizard, and Greninja, that weird-looking frog Pokemon.
So, that's the end of another gaming spotlight. Is Nintendo doomed or is it dormant?
I think we've just saved it, to be honest. Fine. So yeah, well, tune in next time for another great gaming spotlight, and don't forget to let us know what you think below in the comments, and we'll see you again soon.
Don't text, it's going to be the gaming spotlight piss take again. Now, the problem some consumers have got is they don't know when they're going to get to that. I don't want to do this anymore. Every time I fuck up, I get panicked that they're going to use it in a gaming spotlight flood reel.